Welcome to PEMF training. My name is Marcus Freudenmann, reporting from the PEMF training van touring Australia, right now tropical North Queensland. So today we go where no man has gone before. It's not quite true, but we are talking about treating the brain. And there is a few small-scale studies of individual practitioners who try to find out solution to Alzheimer, Parkinson's, MS, depression, all of those things. But what I would like to do today is give you an understanding on how to treat the brain and different areas of the brain that I found to be helpful and effective. Now, as I said, this video, big disclaimer, is for entertainment purposes only. If I do that treatment to myself and I share with you what my reactions were, then you might consider to try that for yourself, but you're on your own. I'm not telling you to do it, and I'm not telling you that it relieves disease. I actually just tell you what I did and how it felt and what results I achieved with it. Okay? Now, if you want medical advice, go to a licensed health professional. I just have to say that, Now, in regards to PEMF, treating the brain, in order to achieve those results that I had, I needed to understand which part of the brain is responsible for what kind of action. And that shows you here in this drawing, in this image, that certain areas are responsible for different kind of functions. And I thought I'll treat each of those areas separately to really see if that area actually improves. So about half a year ago, I started out not with the big loop. I actually used the butterfly to achieve local treatments. And I used it open on the back of my head to treat the lowest part of the brain, the cerebrum and the brain stem. So I was really going into that lower area and started to treat there to see if my old man wobble would disappear. The cerebrum is responsible for balancing and motion and climbing, and I degenerated in that area quite significantly. Climbing over stones, I had to use my hands, I lost my balance. I was not agile at all anymore, and I even felt that loss quite significantly. And then I started to use PEMF in that back area just on a daily basis, 10 minutes in the evening on the lowest setting. So if I go to 5 minutes on level 1, and that's the wrong applicator, here we have the right one, 10 minutes on level 1. I would just hold it back here, and you hear the ticking. That's the Schumann frequency, 7.89 hertz on those PEMF systems devices. And it's about 500 Gauss, 700 Gauss, depending on the applicator that you have on your magnetic field. So I was using that for 10 minutes every evening before going to bed, just to see if there is a change. And I tell you what, it's significant. It actually really was super significant, because when you activate an area out of a deficit, and I could feel that change, I could feel the wobble, I could feel the insecurity by climbing over rocks, completely disappeared. It was so significant that before, when I stood up on my stand-up paddleboard, it was like a big wobbly act until I was up. And now I can stand up, move my feet around and turn and without any problem. So significant improvements and changes for me there. And it felt good. My whole body, my rejuvenation, my recovery time after strenuous exercise was drastically reduced. I think when you move not against yourself and insecure, you don't cramp up as much. And therefore the whole motion, the whole movement becomes more natural, and it's not as exhausting. So really significant changes for me in that area there. But now comes the big part. Treating, and I hope I didn't forget to show you, it's like when you treat here the back, or here your optical area here. So if you have problems in that area, you might feel it. But now the most beautiful part to treat for me was my frontal lobe. That's where you have personality, emotions, arousal, intelligence, ability to concentrate, make decisions, plan, put things in order, solve problems, awareness of what's around you. This was an area that I was very, very focused on, not to think more, but actually to think less, to be more present, to be more, that Zen feeling that you see in martial arts when you get into that stillness and you're all present. That's the part that I was trying to aspire, and also reaching deeper meditations. So when I started to treat my frontal lobe, and I take my glasses off, then you put that so that the loops are really covering that whole frontal area of your brain, and you would now just lay back into your cushion and let that run in the beginning for 1-2 minutes, and then you can slowly increase to 5 minutes, and then after a while, when you feel good, to 10 minutes, but keep it on the lowest level of your device, just to stimulate, just feed energy in. We're not trying to zap something, with electric shocks. We're trying to energize that area. Now that area was actually quite counterproductive at first. I was bright alert, I was active, I was really sharp and clear and not at all meditative or still. It was like easily distracted, and I found it bad to do in the evening because actually my whole falling asleep part was confused. So I started to do that treatment in the morning, and I did it quite long until it changed, until that Zen state finally set in. It took about 2 or 3 weeks, but when it happened, it was so significant that it's not out of body, but when you step back and you observe yourself doing, speaking, interacting without actually being involved, it's like that clarity that comes with that meditative state became super significant, became extremely powerful. My actual meditation was turning single focused, sometimes very short, sometimes even longer, but again, states that I've never achieved ever before. So beautiful. I found that to be very addictive, and I still do this all the time, but I'm doing now the overall treatment, and I come to that in a moment after I explored the different areas of my whole brain. See, you can treat the frontal lobe, you can treat the parental brain and the cerebrum and the visual center very easily with the butterfly, but to get to the sides here, you can do either side and treat the temporal lobe, which is actually your long-term memory. It's meant to be temporal. It's not meant to be there forever. So when you forget things, that's actually quite normal. So the temporal lobe, I then decided to rather address with the big loop. And that's when I found that I don't need any of the individual parts. When I treat with the big loop, I treat the whole head. See, the magnetic field comes out here in a small circle, and then the circle going wider, and that on all sides. So when you have the circles going around the magnetic field, they always concentrate in the middle the most. So by treating the head, you treat now the pituitary gland in the middle, which helps you regulate all your hormonal issues, menstruation problems, sexual libido, breast growth, everything that is related to hormonal balances is controlled by this treatment. So you can actually, really treat that pituitary gland very, very gently. Now, if you turn to the sides and you come from the side like that, you can then treat your ear and sinus areas quite significantly. You can treat your face and focus on that. There is no limit. If you take it further down, you treat your lower jaw and your dental issues and bones. So if you go further down, you can actually hear your thyroid is strongly activated, and it's just something you need to observe. There is no rule, there is no regulation, there is no how long, for how much, for which disease, and how strong. That's something you need to figure out, you need to observe for yourself. That's why I was actually quite happy that I started out to treat individual areas of the brain. And again, the magnetic field around this is so big that it probably influenced the whole brain, but I could feel that change of balance significantly with that butterfly in that back area. I could focus really seriously with that frontal lobe. So knowing that those areas work, then doing an overall for everything is actually quite pleasing. So figure out what your issues are, and you can see on this second map, all the different areas that might be compromised, that you might have problems with, that you might need an improvement, and then see if it works. Again, start out on the lowest setting in a very short time interval, and then observe, how did it feel? Nothing really, or oh, I got a headache. Well, then you might have a lot of toxins in your brain. If you have infections in your body that lower your immunity and you don't drink enough, you might have a headache from that. So always look at all the factors. See, health is never just a singular issue. I treat the head and therefore my problems go away. It's to do with your diet, it's to do with your water and fluid intake. Then in regards to treating the brain, good oils and fats, vitamins, they're all relevant. So don't just do one thing and ignore the other. Also, when you think about the gut-brain connection, if you eat bad food, high inflammatory food, well, then your brain is inflamed. So if you eat foods that cause allergic reactions or food sensitivities and your whole system collapses, well, then the brain collapses. You can't isolate the two. But what I found is the more I was treating my brain and clarifying all those different energy zones, the more my lifestyle changed. I started to eat more consciously. I was eating things and felt immediately how that was detrimental. So I stopped it. It was actually transforming my lifestyle habits by treating my brain. If that works for you this way, perfect. But be conscious of it. You can't work, upstream. You need to do both ends at the same time to get maximum results. All right? Now, if you would like to learn more about PEMF, what it does and how it works, link up here and in the description. And if you would like to find out which device suits you best, again, link up here and in the description. And if we are already there, you can check out how long does it take until I see results, which is the link up here and in the description below. I think that's a nice package to learn about PEMF and to get a realistic understanding on what you can achieve by doing these treatments on a regular basis. And again, don't forget to share your feedback. See you in the next video.